Alrighty, we are here with V. Nguyen, co-CEO of Avocado Green Brands. You know them from their mattresses as well, which I have to say right off the bat, my wife Dana is allergic to avocado, not your mattresses, just actual avocado.
Actual
So I
avocado?
have to get that out of the
That's
way. If we can get her to listen for more than 1 minute of it, then this podcast is a win. So thanks for that. But V, thanks so much for all you do and making time today. How you doing today?
Thanks for having me. Great, great, great. Just enjoying the Southern California weather today.
Yeah. As I'm freezing in New Jersey and living vicariously through you. So make sure to send some of that our way too. But yeah, never gets old by you, I'm sure. But we're gonna talk all things avocado and mattresses, as I do with every guest. No, but before we get to that, so actually the whole mattress market is like a fascinating area because there's obviously so many brands. There's everybody
Yeah.
needs one. You always need somewhere comfy to sleep, and there's a lot of different approaches to it. But if you go back to when you were a little kid or teenager or anything like in that ballpark, was there anything that hinted at I might do something with mattresses one day besides sleep?
Well, in my case, a little bit because my dad was in the furniture and then ended up being in the mattress business. So there was hints of that along the way, I guess.
What type of furniture stuff did your dad do?
He did furniture retail, and then him and his partners they decided to start making mattresses for their own local retail, and it was sort of more of a sort of low end, value driven product and things like that. But yeah, he did that, and growing up, I saw a little bit of that, and some of the summers I sort of helped out in the factory and whatnot.
Oh, nice. So what were some of the roles that you're doing in the factory?
Oh man! Then high school, helping load the trucks, bagging the mattresses. This general muscle help is kind of what they give you because you got no other skill.
What's that sounds incredibly exhausting. Bagging the mattresses.
Yeah,
What's what's involved from like the physical sense of that?
I mean, you got to obviously lift the beds off the conveyor, get them on this little contraction, and we would sort of slide the bag on there. And back then, I think you would actually like iron the bag shut instead of using tape, and then you got to load it into the truck. That's actually was the harder part. You got to actually carry them and load them into all the trucks.
Oh
So
man.
it was good work. I mean, it was a good honest day's pay.
Is that the type of thing that people wear the like back support harness belt
Yeah,
for?
exactly, exactly.
So was there any elements of that, not specifically like the physical lifting, but any elements of the furniture world from that age that you were like, this is like I could add some insights or kind of make a dent in this world?
I think for me, a couple of worlds came together. Out of college, bunch of friends, really close friends of mine, started an internet company that I was involved in very early on, and it turned out myself and my father were sort of early investors in it. I worked there early on, and it was a price comparison site, and this was going back in 2000, and so what I saw was this convergence of lots of different items getting online. And in the beginning, it was a lot of digital cameras, software, sort of memory drives, the real typical things you would think that are sort of early adopter sort of type of items. But then as we sort of built the business, we started to have clothes being sold online, and then little by little, you saw bigger items being sold online. And I think that, and then my sort of family experience, we started to put the things together that hey, at some point, even large ticket items like mattresses and furniture, there's going to be a certain segment of the market that would want to do the research online, discover the brands, and even just purchase it if you sort of provide the right product and make sure that you create a shopping experience that was seamless, and they felt comfortable getting the product, being able to return it, all those sort of things. So those two worlds came together, and in 2010, when my dad was set to retire, I ended up buying his little factory from him, really with the intent to start building a online brand. He really was just a small local producer, and so yeah, so around 2010, we executed that, and that's how it came about.
That's it. This is hitting really close to home. I didn't expect this because on my wife's side, so her grandpa used to have a factory in North Carolina that was
Okay.
used for like textiles and sort of that sort of manufacturing. You know, it's and obviously
Yeah,
North Carolina is a huge furniture world
that's
too.
huge. Bigger. It's still big
Um,
for that, but less
yeah,
so now.
yeah. And what made me think of that is my father-in-law, so his son. I'm really bad with these theoretical family tree, no, mental family trees. He ended up buying the factory from him when he started his business. That's more about like swatches and manufacturing like that. So I think there's something really cool when you can kind of keep, even if it's a different business, if you can keep some sort of big asset like that in the family, and use it for, to create more good and solve problems for more people. That's just a really cool
Yeah,
thing. That
I think also it's what you see is um, the same asset, like you said, different generations evolve the business model, and sometimes it takes a new generation to be able to do it because obviously if you've been doing it one way and you're successful at it, you're not going to try. You're less apt to just pivot and try something completely new. So sometimes it does take a new crop of leaders to come and say, hey, maybe there's a different way to doing this.
and so was that I guess your family business, was that Brentwood home or is that separate?
That was separate. So when we bought it in 2010, that's when probably about a year or two later, as we spent time ideating about what we wanted to do, and then we launched Brentwood Home. In about a year or 2 years later, with really intent to bring it online, a direct to consumer brand, and that's what we did for the first, I guess, 5 years or something, and then about 2016, the group of guys that were starting up Avocado came to us via consultant that they had met. The consultant recommended us as sort of quality producers. And so, yeah, we sat down with them and really worked on, ideating a product. They had lots of ideas about wanting to create a really high quality product, using as much natural components as possible. And so, yeah, we worked with them for probably close to a year, just coming up with prototypes and testing out different materials, and then finally, got a product together towards the end of 2016, I take it. And then I think that's when we finally launched the product, right the last month or something, 2016.
So avocado, and I
Yeah.
promise I'm not going to make any guac references. Not going to make any
We're okay with
avocado
the
oil
guac jokes.
references. I'm sure you guys hear it like crazy, but really, really cool brand. And as you just alluded to, like really huge focus on being like organic and great for consumers, and also doing good for the world as well. So pretty cool. Like I think it goes a lot deeper than what people typically think of when they think of mattresses historically. So what are some of the things that like you and the what were some of the core pillars that you and the team, when developing avocado and like getting this out into the world, thought were like these are non-negotiables. We need to make sure we deliver on these.
Yeah. I mean, I think first and foremost, we wanted to create a very high quality product. Another pillar was using all natural materials and organic certified materials where possible. And when we first launched it, I mean, the supply chain within the industry wasn't fully developed. I mean, in terms of getting non-chemical fire retardant layers, in terms of getting certified organic latex, like a lot of these things, we had to really work hard at building out the supply chain. There was some elements of it sometimes for other industries and things that we could utilize, but it wasn't up to the scale that was going to allow us to grow the business. So a lot of the work in the first few years was really making sure that we could build the infrastructure in place with the supply chain to scale it. So anyhow, so yeah, really high product quality, and I think using all natural materials. But then the third one was really making sure there was real um, authenticity to the brand, a real voice to the brand that consumers can come to trust. And so, and that goes really deep. I mean, we never sort of talk about or badmouth competitors. We really just focus on talking about, our product, our quality. We do a lot of third party certification so that it can be trusted. It's not just our word. We seek a lot of third party validation just to so that consumers out there know like these things are being tested by a third party. We publish all of that stuff. We're very transparent in how we make the beds, what components are being used. We share test results, and a lot of that stuff wasn't really being done within the mattress industry. It's a industry where there's a lot of obfuscations in terms of how it's made, what's in there. There's a lot of they throw out a lot of buzzwords, and so I think we set to change that quite a bit.
Yeah, and you have, and I think transparency, authenticity is obviously a great pillar to build any business around, but especially when it's something that like people are trusting to sleep on every night or to
Yeah,
relax on or to be in their home. Like
for
people
sure.
people take mattresses and furniture very, very seriously. And so I think that the fact that you kind of open the door for a great connection there just makes your consumer base that much more diehard. What about on the whole material side of things? So that's obviously a huge focus. How do you kind of how do you kind of do the balance of like, let's make sure these are like as organic and quote unquote healthy material. I don't know if you say that for a
Yeah.
bed. Healthy materials.
Match. I think
Uh,
I think we would think about it as like how do we find the most natural
yeah,
material versus sort of synthetic and sort of chemical free material.
yeah. This I'm gonna go ahead and say that you can say this. You can describe this better than me. But so natural materials, I think there historically there's kind of like been a back and forth just across any industry of just like natural materials versus providing like high quality or comfort
Yeah.
there. How are you able to deliver both?
Well, I think there's two ways to think about that. I think um, going back many decades, mattresses were generally made of all natural materials, and I think as the advent of petroleum based products and synthetic products, it was created so that it was a substitute to be able to do things quicker, faster, cheaper, and so what we're using is really products that end up costing us on average more than substitute components, but it's a longer process to make, like a rubber a rubber foam pad. Our latex foam pads. I mean, that's made basically 95% of that is made from the sap of a rubber tree. They collect the sap every day, and once they have enough, they heat it up, and then it vulcanizes. It turns into like a rubber sheet, and that's a long process. You got to grow the rubber trees. You got to collect the sap every day, and each day, each tree only gives you half a cup of sap. So you got to collect thousands of trees and make to make a single sheet. Now, if you substitute that with foam, foam is you throw two chemicals together. There's a sort of thermal reaction, and you create foam. Now, over time, people have created different grades of foam and different feels and things like that. But I think what we think about is how do we go back to things that nature made and things that have been around for a long time, that over time have gotten substituted out because of convenience and cost. And I think that's what we work towards doing as we build up the supply chain.
And the supply chain is a huge part of it. Breaking through anything from like a marketing sense is seemingly more and more impossibly hard
It's hard.
as in the modern digital world.
Yeah.
How how so far have you guys been able to break through and like establish get this brand out there in like such a
Yeah.
crowded mattress and furniture space?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. I mean, one, we weren't like VC funded, so it wasn't like Casper where we had, hundreds of
You
millions
were
of dollars.
V funded.
Yeah, exactly. Family and friends funded basically. Um, I think there's a couple things. I mean, when we talk about the brand pillars, like sort of authenticity and transparency, that didn't exist in the industry, and I think that really resonated with consumers. I think we rode a huge wave of consumers wanting to move towards more natural organic materials in their life. I think consumers have graduated beyond, hey, I should eat organic. They start thinking about what about the things and the products I'm consuming around me? Are things releasing chemicals, or how are things made? How are things constructed? And obviously, you're if you're getting a good night's sleep, you're on your bed 8 hours a day, and so I think there's a lot of that. So we were, obviously we caught a sort of wave of consumers sentiment shifting in that way, and I think that's helped propel it. And I think really is just we've stayed true with the brand from the beginning to now. Where what you see in a lot of the mattress industry is, the brand comes out with one thing, and then another sort of type of product becomes hot. Then they make another. They sort of jump all over the place because they're always trying to chase the latest sort of fad, and we just haven't done that. We've stayed really true to the brand ethos and the things that we believe in, and over time that builds a lot of consumer confidence, and the word of mouth is amazing. I mean, our customer base, the repeat order base that we have is probably industry record. We get about 30 to 40% of our consumers come back and buy another product from us within 18 months. And most mattress companies, it's a 5 to 7 year purchase cycle, and we just don't have that. We have consumers that really, once they've come to trust the brand, there's a whole plethora of products that we could offer them. And as we have evolved the business too, we're servicing the needs of first the master bedroom, and then now we have kids, the Eco Kids mattress, we have crib mattresses, the sheets, the pillows. So there's a whole environment that we could create that they feel safe about, to sleep on.
Yeah, in terms of that environment, how do you create that, like, seemingly with open arms to make sure that we're here for your repeat customers, like we have a lot to offer here?
Yeah, no, I think that's really understanding the customer and their needs, and understanding that the customer isn't just the parents in the master bedroom. If anything, one of our core products that really drive people to us is our like organic crib mattresses. When they start there, especially when it's new parents, they are very conscious about what the baby's consuming. Your baby's probably more likely to chew on your mattress and sleep on it face down, and there's all kinds of stuff. And also, just first time mothers are very, they're very fanatical about making sure they find the right products. And I think, so if they find us through that channel and they trust our crib mattress, as the child gets older, we offer a kids mattress. And I think over time, if they come to trust the brand, they'll see, hey, we have a great product that addresses the sort of master bedroom. And or sometimes the journey starts the other way. They're looking for that mattress that fulfills what the master bedroom is, and then as they had children and as the family evolves and grows, they come back to us for all those other products.
You did it again. That hits extra close to home as well. At the time of this recording, our daughter Jamie is almost 1 year old, and she's
Okay.
like, she's at that phase where she puts literally everything in her mouth. Like if there's something
Yeah.
on the floor, she'll like the little like
She's
things
not
to
in a
protect
crib
the
anymore,
floor.
though, is she?
She is still, yeah. We keep moving it around a lot, but uh, anyway, she's just from the parent mindset. Like Dana and I are totally both from like want to make sure that like whatever she uses or spends time with is like high quality. It's
Yeah.
certified, if you will. So can
Yeah,
totally see why like a huge amount of like your growing customer base is that as well.
for
And
sure.
what about on the um on like your day to day? So co-CEO, I think CEO in general, there's like a million different jobs to do. It's like obviously very tough, prestigious but tough job no matter what you do. Your co-CEO as well, multiple CEOs. Like, what's can you just share, like, at least at the time of this recording, kind of what your priorities are and how you start to tackle that your work plan?
Yeah. No, that's a good, especially, we're time of this recording, we're in January. So, we set out our budget for the year. And part of our budget planning process is we set out, what we call rocks. Essentially, what are the major initiatives we want to tackle this year?
Is
Uh,
this EOS related, by the way,
yeah.
or is that
So, so we,
okay?
we have implemented EOS
Gotcha.
process.
I've heard of those big rock. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
That's
I think a lot of my focus is how to make sure we keep driving those big rocks, following up with the teams that are executing those things, trying to break through where there's bottlenecks, where there's sort of progress that's being stalled, trying to figure out why. And then on top of that, I mean, I think on an everyday basis, I'm pretty heavily involved in sort of the manufacturing operations side, just because my background lends to that. And then just dealing with the finance side and making sure, budgets are staying on pace, and making sure we're sort of executing to our sort of financial plans.
so there's So you never deal with numbers at all, sounds like. No. No, I mean, I guess where kind of zooming out, like where in your life did you really get your chops as well as being like in tune with like numbers and the financial side of the business?
Yeah, well, I studied finance in college, so I had a
That doesn't
finance
hurt, yeah.
Yeah, that helped a lot. So yeah, obviously they taught me how to build spreadsheets and how to model out different things and how to do financial analysis um and so yeah, I got some background on that, and I don't know, I think from even from a very young age, I've always had a little more aptitude towards that than, let's say, the creative side. And it's funny because I have two girls, and they're just I think 14, 15 months apart, and I see it in them. Like, one has much more creative aptitude, and then the other one is just like likes to deal with numbers and likes to go to math class and likes to problem solve and likes like number riddles. So I think there's some of that is probably innate in us.
Yeah, yeah, it was so fascinating, and there's such a variety. I just invented a word, variety, wide variety with kids too. But,
Yeah.
um, but that's something. There's such a wide range too in terms of becoming like sounds very basic, but a business professional. Some people are so averse to numbers, and some people are all in it. And I think as an executive or CEO, obviously it's something that you have to have at least a pretty darn good understanding of.
Yeah. I think in general, to be successful in the business world, it probably helps to have some basic understanding of finance and some understanding of accounting and how a sort of P&L or income statement and balance sheet works. So I think if people want to go down that route, they probably could study that a little earlier, and some of that stuff you could study, but then until you sort of get your beak wet dealing with it and stumbling over it a few times, you have to go through the messy process of ingesting what you've learned and making some mistakes along the way to really absorb it, right?
Shout out Godfather 2, just enough to wet my beak a little bit. So thank you. You said it. But what about on the flip side of that? So you mentioned that like you weren't naturally, all in on like the creative side and that thing. Like you kind of gravitated towards numbers. What have you learned in the avocado world, we'll call it? What have you learned or what's impressed you about the world of like marketing and creativity?
Yeah, I what I really learned, especially with like one of our co-founders, our CMO. I think what I've learned from this journey over the last 10 years with avocados is really the power of storytelling. I think the power of the narrative, the power of what having a brand resonate with the consumer, how powerful that is, where you basically are creating, consumers that are advocates for you and that are out there basically selling your product for you. It's a very powerful thing, and it's probably easier said than done, but that's the magic of building the brand. If you can build a brand where the story resonates with your consumers, and you sort of catch the product market fit at the right time, there's sort of a magical effect that happens, and it starts to multiply on itself.
So if you were to put in like one line, what's the story that avocado has told that you think just like hits a home run with the consumers?
For avocado, it's the fact that you can have a product that you could trust, that you can sleep on, knowing that it's chemical free, that you could trust for your kids to yourself. And I think that's a big part of what consumers were really, really wanting out there. Because quite frankly, the traditional mattress companies really didn't want to tell you what was in their bed. And for us, we were very transparent about, this is what we make it out of. Like you could, we'll tell you where our latex supplier is based out of. We'll tell you where the fabric is made out of. And it just wasn't that way in the industry. It was a lot of, a lot of smoke and mirrors, as they would say.
Well, I trust that you're ready to switch it up. I've grilled you enough about all your numbers, so let's switch it up a little bit. I call this the unusual. So this is a few questions, just more about you personally. Doesn't need to tie it to the business at all, but more just to like I always like learning about the guest as
Sure.
who they are on the personal side as well. So let's talk quirks. First thing, quirks. What's something your family, your daughter's family, kid, somebody calls your team calls you out for, and it's a little quirky about your personality, but it's who you
Yeah,
are.
sure.
It makes you you.
A quirk I have is sometimes I mean, if I get tired in the moment, I will take a 30-second nap or 1 minute nap in the middle of anything. I mean, in the middle of a
Oh, nice.
meeting, in the middle of a
Is that
car
why
drive.
like 5 minutes ago you were asleep for a minute?
So I will. I mean, I've been in the conference room and in sort of the middle of a meeting, I'll sort of put my head back and doze off for like it's normally like a minute or so, but then I'll just hop right back to it.
Oh, I'm so jealous of that. I love napping, but it definitely takes me a long time to actually fall asleep. What's a trick you have for falling asleep quickly? I mean,
I
napping
mean,
quickly.
the napping, yeah. You know what I learned one time is I read something, not to ever fight when your body starts to feel that it's coming down and you're starting to get tired. And so I before I would fight it, whether you drink coffee or you try to power through it, and you end up being sort of groggy the rest of the day. And so now when I'm feeling that come over, I just embrace it and just allow it to come over. And if I put my close my eyes for a minute, then so be it. And so I think that's the main thing is not to fight it and sort of embrace it. Because once you embrace it, if you take a 5 minute nap, the rest of your day is amazing.
Yeah, no, it has an amazing recharging quality. But
Yeah.
that sounds so simple. I love the way you put it. Like the when you're tired, nap. If you
I
put it
was
in that
just
sense, obviously you can't always do it, but it in theory is much easier to fall asleep if your body's already telling you to fall asleep.
Yeah. But I think if people start to embrace it, I think you'd be surprised on how often you can do it. Like I said, like sometimes I've excused myself out of a meeting, I'll do it, or in the middle of a meeting, I just like, hey, I need a minute.
There, who did I hear? Oh, I'm not sure if you're familiar with Jocko Willink or the Jocko podcast. He's like a retired Navy SEAL who's got a huge podcast and podcast empire now, but he tells lots of stories, both from his time in action and in outside and business world and stuff too. But he said, like, when they were serving, him and his squadron would like always, they were big on the 6 minute nap. They're like, if you just got a little bit
Yeah,
of time, just find 6 minutes, 6 to 8 minutes, like that's all you
absolutely
need. So you've kind of taken that to the extreme.
right.
You've
I
taken
think that five,
extreme
6 minutes,
ownership
that's
of his
perfect.
approach. No.
That's
All right.
perfect. six
What
minute nap.
is what about pet peeves? What's something that just kind of ticks you off a little bit, but like in the grand scheme of life, it really isn't a big deal. It's just a little like daily thing.
Yeah. Right now, I got a little pet peeves at home where it bothers me when the kids or the wife, they take stuff out of the fridge and they don't put it back. They just leave it on the
Uh,
counter, and I feel like I'm running around putting stuff back in the fridge all day. So it's not that difficult, and yeah. So right now, at least that's sort of a family pet peeve of mine.
we're totally in the same boat. Not as much as with the fridge. I mean, I sometimes forget stuff with the fridge too, but fortunately not too much. But I'm definitely a neat freak in the sense of like I don't like clutter, like when stuff is out
Yeah.
too long, or like when infamously when like cupboards are open, stuff like that. But what we realized recently is, oh, when you have a baby and they start to play with toys everywhere, the baby doesn't clean up after themselves. So
No.
I'm realizing I'm like the guy now who's like every night before bed, like, all right, let's clean up all these pieces, let's get all that. And so that's like a new constant effort for us too.
Wait a little bit more. Your baby's gonna. Did they go through a phase where they get fascinated by cupboard doors? All they want to do is open and close them
Oh
and
yeah,
open
we
and
gotta
close
do
them.
need some major baby proofing coming up soon. All right, and then how about I call them weird talents. So what's a weird talent or party trick? Just something that like you have a knack for, but it's just a
Wow.
silly thing.
I don't know if I have any great.
You already used your good answer on this because
Yeah.
the
I
one
could
minute
semi
1 minute
juggle.
nap's pretty
I could semi juggle. I mean, juggle three balls. I can't juggle
semi
much more than
juggle. I would call that
that.
full juggle. Three balls. How'd you learn to do that?
You know, they. I think it's when I play tennis. Sometimes you have a lot of downtime, so you just kind of mess with the balls, and they say it helps with the eye-hand coordination. So I spent the better part of a summer just doing that for as a kid, just all the time, just practicing, practicing, and somehow I caught it.
Oh, wow. Well, we're gonna juggle. We're gonna semi juggle our way to wrap up with rapid fire Q&A. You ready for it?
Sure.
All right, we got three questions in the air. No, maybe some more, but let's get wild. This again doesn't need to tie back to the business at all. It's kind of random all over the place. First one, USC. What is your all-time favorite memory tied to your time at USC?
At USC? Oh man, seems like so long ago, but my
It
all-time
was a
favorite.
year or two ago. You're good.
Do I have great fond memories there?
Or maybe you don't. That's an answer too. That's
I
cool.
mean, it's not that I had a horrible time. I will say this. I in high school, I started to sort of be in the wrong crowd and get in a lot of trouble. And so
Mm.
when I finally got my act together, when I got to college, I was a very serious student, and so I sort of plowed through college, with my head down and got my act together, and so I did enjoy. I worked at the computer lab. Um, while I was in college, the business school computer lab, and learned a lot from there. I mean, I taught, that's when I was teaching MBA students how to use Word, how to use Excel and PowerPoint, and actually learned quite a bit from that whole experience. So that was a worthwhile experience.
Yeah, that's an amazing story. Real quick on that note, what do you think made the difference in you being from like going with hanging with the wrong crowd as you said to being someone who's like a
Yeah,
disciplined student and has a job and all that?
yeah. I think there's certain maturity, but when I was a junior, I guess in high school, I started to see a lot of friends getting into a lot of trouble. I mean, whether it's getting expelled and going to juvie and things like that. And I think I just had a wake up call. I said, look, if I don't sort of get out of here and get away from this group of people that I know, then I'm going to end up in the same boat. And so that's sort of when I put my head down and decided, let's focus on getting to college and sort of escaping this circle of people and influence that you're in. And so it wasn't one particular moment, but I think it crystallized by seeing a lot of people around me get into a lot of big trouble.
Well, you were mature beyond your years. Still are, I would argue. All right. What's something about the furniture business in general that you think most of the average person would be shocked to hear?
Hmm. Well, I think the average person would probably be shocked to know there's probably, hundreds of mattress companies and factories in the country. Most people, probably can name off two or three only. So I think that'd be something that the average consumer would know. Um, And I think the average consumer, I have no idea if they really realize the size of the market. We estimate it to be about a 20-30 billion dollar mattress market. And people sleep on it every day, but I think people forget about it a lot of times. They buy it once and they sort of forget how important it is. So,
I think the market's also it's king size, it's California king size, it's queen size. No, I'm just kidding.
and
Low hanging.
people probably don't really realize there's two kings. That's a quirk in the
Yeah.
whole sizing convention. Somehow California got its own size, and
Yeah.
the rest of the didn't. So.
All right, and then just a few miles from California, so your family's Vietnamese descent.
Yep.
We had never had Vietnamese cuisine. Well, and we still have. We've had Vietnamese cuisine from Jersey. We haven't been to Vietnam, but not until recently, and we realized how much we love pho. Am I saying it right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Our
then
famous soup. Yeah.
yeah. So that's really good. But then we also made the mistake of ordering the what's it called? It was like the chef special pho, which had a lot
Oh
more.
yeah, with everything in there.
Yeah, it had a lot more in there than we bargained for, than just
The
like a
tendon and the
beef
tripe
meatball.
and the,
Yeah,
the
exactly.
meatball.
Yeah, we should have had
you,
this interview beforehand and known
you
what
didn't
some of
like you
those.
didn't like all the different you didn't like all the different cuts of
I
meat.
didn't mind it. I did not. I thought it was all pretty good. It was just definitely kind of bizarre from a texture standpoint.
Yeah.
My wife Dana was very much not a fan of all the different shapes and textures
Yeah.
there. So we'll see. So we'll probably go with the regular one last time, but next time. But anyway, it's really good. So anyway, what's your? I'm gonna say besides pho, pho,
Uh,
and banh mi. What those are the two famous ones.
yeah, those are two
What's
famous
a
ones.
famous what's a Vietnamese dish that you're like this like you got to try it if you haven't had it.
I mean, I like Boomba way, but it's not for the faint of heart. It's a it's a pork based soup. So it's really spicy with lemongrass. It's a little bit more pungent than pho, so you got to be ready for it. My wife doesn't like it when I order it for at the house because she says it stinks.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, I'll have to try that out. And what's your spice tolerance? Like, is that really spicy?
I no, it's not really spicy, but I can tolerate a decent amount. But it's just on the spicy side. It's not like crazy. It's not like Chinese hot pot.
And then last one, has you like you or your family, do you ever travel to Vietnam?
Yeah, yeah. I've been there a bunch of times. We took our kids there. We haven't been in about 3 years, but yeah,
Okay.
used to visit.
We'll give you some slack. 3 years. That's still pretty recent. But what is what's an area or like a city or town in Vietnam that is like first time going to the country, you have to check this out.
Hoi An is a really nice area. It's up in the center of the country. It's sort of their cultural artists area. It's a really nice place. Um, so I think obviously there's the big cities of Ho Chi Minh or Saigon and then Hanoi, the capital. But Hoi An is a great place to visit if you're going to go and to make sure you get a more of a country vibe and sort of the outside of the city feeling of the country.
Well, I'm excited to visit. I'm excited to try the pungent soup you
Yeah.
mentioned. But but V, thank you so much. This was a blast, and really appreciate your insights and all you guys do at Avocado. Really really cool, impressive brand. Where's the best place for people to if they want to check out Avocado or buy something from Avocado, as well as if they want to connect with you online?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, our website, avocadogreenmattress.com, is a great place to shop for the items and really read about the company and really do all the research and find whatever they like. If people want to get a hold of directly of me, then feel free to. It's v at avocadogreenbrands.com, and that's vy at avocado green brands. So if they'd
Awesome,
like to reach
appreciate
out,
that.
that's easy.
Awesome, V. Thank you so much. Last thing, final thoughts. It could be a quote, just kind of a few words to live by, whatever you want. Send us home here.
You got to really go and enjoy and really live in the moment. So I think that's part of what we do every day is making sure we enjoy the process and enjoy the journey.
Bring on the bongos.